In the foggy village of Ravensbrück, strange things had always happened, but no one dared to question them. It began centuries ago, when travelers passing through reported hearing whispers in the mist, voices calling their names, even when they were alone. The locals called it the Echo Fog. A scientist named Drive, Amelia Crown, came to investigate, believing it to be some natural phenomenon. She set up recording devices throughout the valley, determined to find logic behind the whispers. What she found instead made her blood run cold. The tapes played back conversations she never had. One night, her own voice echoed through the recorder saying, "Don't look behind you." When she turned, the fog swallowed her whole. The next morning, her camp was found untouched, but she was gone, and her voice still whispers through the valley whenever the fog rolls in. Part 2. Far from Ravensbrück, in the deserts of Peru, archaeologists discovered a buried structure that defied all understanding. Deep beneath the sand was a chamber filled with gears, levers, and crystal lenses, an ancient machine that still pulsed faintly with light. No one knew how old it was, or who built it. When a researcher tried to activate it, a low hum filled the air, and shadows appeared on the walls, moving like human figures. The team fled in panic. Satellite images taken days later showed the area glowing faintly blue, and then, nothing. The structure had completely vanished, leaving behind only the disturbed sand. To this day, no scientific explanation has ever been accepted, and the site's coordinates have been erased from every modern map. Part 3. The last mystery comes from the open sea, the phantom frequency. Ships across the Pacific have reported picking up a faint signal on their radios, always at 3:07 a.m. The transmission lasts exactly 60 seconds, and every time, it broadcasts a child's voice reciting strange numbers, followed by an old man's whisper, "We are still here." When a government vessel attempted to trace the source, its entire crew vanished without a trace. Only the captain's logbook remained, waterlogged but legible. The last entry read, "The signal is not from Earth." No one has ever solved these mysteries. They remain suspended in time, fragments of reality that bend the laws of logic, forever challenging our understanding of the world. Thousands of miles from Ravensbrück's haunted fog, another enigma slept beneath the sands of Peru, silent, buried, and waiting to be found. In 1989, a team of archaeologists led by Dr. Luis Herrera discovered what appeared to be a stone arch half-buried in the desert near Nazca. At first, it seemed ordinary, just another pre-Incan ruin scattered across the endless dunes. But when the team began excavating, the sand shifted unnaturally fast, almost as if the earth itself was resisting them. After 3 weeks of digging, they uncovered a circular platform made of polished black stone, unlike anything seen in South America. It shimmered faintly under sunlight, and the surface was covered in intricate geometric carvings that pulsed with a strange heat when touched. Deep at the center, there was a sealed hatch, crafted from a metallic alloy that no one could identify. Luis, curious and determined, decided to open it. The hatch descended into darkness. The deeper they went, the colder the air became, and the more metallic the walls appeared, smooth and seamless, as if molded, not built. Finally, they reached a massive underground chamber the size of a cathedral. Inside stood rows of strange mechanisms, gears, lenses, and circular plates embedded with crystals that flickered softly with blue light. It looked like a machine, ancient, silent, and impossibly intact. Luis called it the heart of the desert. At first, the team thought it might be an astronomical device or a calendar, perhaps even a forgotten observatory. But none of the mechanisms made sense. The gears were carved from quartz, not metal, and yet they fit perfectly into one another without friction. The crystals hummed faintly when approached, as though reacting to human presence. One night, Luis decided to test it. He connected a small portable generator to a metallic panel, hoping to power the system and record any movement. As the generator sparked to life, the chamber trembled slightly. A low hum filled the air, deep and resonant, like the sound of 1,000 voices humming in unison. The team cheered, believing they had awakened an ancient marvel of engineering. But then, shadows began to move across the walls, not cast by the people or their lights, but by something else. The shapes were human-like, dozens of them, walking, turning, facing the archaeologists, and then freezing. One of the researchers screamed. The shadows turned toward the sound. Luis quickly shut off the generator. Silence. The humming stopped. The figures vanished. For a long time, no one spoke. They agreed not to mention what they saw until they could explain it. But the following day, strange things began happening. Equipment went missing. Lights flickered. The team members complained of hearing whispers in languages they couldn't understand. One of them, a young graduate named Maria, swore she saw a figure standing at the far end of the chamber. Not a shadow this time, but a solid shape, human in form, its skin glimmering like glass. When she blinked, it was gone. By the fifth night, the tension was unbearable. Luis contacted the Peruvian government to send specialists, but before they could arrive, everything changed. A satellite passing over the area detected a bright pulse of light, brief, but powerful enough to disrupt nearby communication systems. When rescue teams finally reached the site, there was nothing left. The entire excavation area had collapsed. The black platform, the tunnels, the machinery, all of it, had vanished. The sand had filled the void completely, as though the site had never existed. Only one object remained. Near the old camp, searchers found Luis's notebook, half buried in the sand. The final page contained a single sentence, written hastily in the dark. Greater than, it's not a machine, it's a door. Since then, the area has been marked as restricted territory. No coordinates match the place where the heart of the desert was found. Modern maps show only empty dunes, stretching endlessly. Yet, locals who live near the region report hearing faint mechanical sounds at night, carried on the desert wind, a low hum that rises and falls like breathing. Some say the machine is still there, buried deeper than before, waiting for someone else to find it. Others believe it opened, just once, and what came through was never meant to be seen. Far away from the fog-covered valleys of Ravensbrück and the burning sands of Peru lies the vast, indifferent expanse of the Pacific Ocean, deep, endless, and full of secrets that the world has yet to uncover. Sailors have always feared what hides beneath its rolling waves, but none of them could have imagined the phenomenon that would come to be known as the phantom frequency. It began quietly in the 1970s, when fishing boats and cargo vessels reported strange interruptions on their radio channels. At exactly 3:07 a.m., every night without fail, a faint signal would emerge, a child's voice, soft and calm, reciting a string of random numbers. 2, 7, 9, 3, 0, then, after precisely 60 seconds, the child would stop, and an old man's whisper would follow. Greater than, we are still here. At first, the strange broadcast was dismissed as a pirate radio transmission or a deep-sea anomaly caused by signal reflection. But as the reports spread, it became clear that no one could trace the source. The signal could be picked up in the middle of the ocean, on isolated islands, even by shortwave enthusiasts thousands of miles inland. Every attempt to triangulate its origin ended in failure, the coordinates shifted each time, as if the source were moving. In 1998, the mystery caught the attention of the Global Oceanic Research Authority, a covert scientific division that investigated unexplained maritime phenomena. They assembled a specialized crew aboard a research vessel named Artemis IV, equipped with the most advanced sonar and radio tracking systems of its time. Their mission? Locate and identify the phantom frequency. The first few nights were uneventful. The team, led by Captain Elias Monroe, drifted through calm waters beneath starless skies, scanning the frequencies. Then, on the fifth night, at exactly 3:07 a.m., the signal appeared. The child's voice was clear, chillingly so. The numbers echoed softly through the control room. 3, 5, 9, 1, 4, then came the whisper, we are still here. But this time, the sound wasn't just coming from the radio. It was vibrating through the hull. The crew felt it beneath their feet, a faint, rhythmic pulse rising from the ocean below. Elias ordered the sonar to be activated. What appeared on the screen made everyone freeze. There was something massive beneath them, hundreds of meters long, moving slowly, directly beneath the ship. Its shape was irregular, not like any submarine or geological formation. The ship's engineer, Quan, suggested dropping a probe. The device descended into the dark, sending back faint video feeds of what looked like metallic structures. Curved, corroded, ancient. Then, for just 1 second, the camera caught something impossible. A carved archway, covered in symbols similar to those found in ancient South American ruins. Before they could analyze the footage, the probe feed cut out. At 3:08 a.m., the child's voice returned. This time, it wasn't numbers. It said, "You shouldn't have come." The crew panicked. Elias shouted for the engines to be powered, but the control systems went dark. The ship began to drift in complete silence. Then, the sea itself began to glow, a deep blue light rising from below, illuminating the waves in an unearthly hue. From the deck, they could see shapes beneath the surface, towering silhouettes that looked like structures, maybe even cities, submerged far below. Suddenly, the whisper echoed again, louder, surrounding them, "We are still here." And then, everything went black. Days later, the Artemis IV was discovered adrift by a passing cargo vessel. The ship's interior was intact, the engines operational, and all communication systems functional, but the entire crew had vanished. Only one object was found, the captain's logbook, floating near the control desk. The final entry, written in trembling handwriting, read, "Greater than, the frequency is not from Earth. It's coming from below, from what was left behind." When the footage from the probe was recovered, the last frame before signal loss showed something enormous moving behind the stone archway, an eye, vast and pale, opening slowly as if awakened. Since then, the phantom frequency continues to broadcast every night at 3:07 a.m. Ships that tune into it often report compass failure, sudden temperature drops, and voices echoing through empty corridors. Some claim to see faint blue lights beneath their vessels, following them for miles. Governments have denied its existence, calling it an illusion or a data artifact. But seasoned sailors know better. They keep their radios off at that cursed hour, whispering warnings to newcomers who laugh it off. Because those who listen too closely to the phantom frequency never come back to tell what they heard when the old man whispered.